and she had two sons, one with the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, and the other with Amhara Fano.
Still, there are questions that remained unanswered, unsolved.
In peace studies, we say peace, as well as war, begins in the mind, in the thinking.
People who are still in the jungle.
They can keep their arms, their weapons all together, but they can send us their agenda.
What could be the source of that kind of mindset?
Absolutely tough question, to be honest with you.
Not Prosperity Party.
Not at all. I don't get nothing to do with political parties. I respect all of them.
Equally, there are people who do think that the Commission is not independent.
From the past experience, past history.
You predict the future.
And then, as Winston Churchill would say, so as to look forward, look backward.
For the success of this National Dialogue Commission,
above 80% of the population of Ethiopia are very positive about national dialogue.
Your commission has been in Amhara region for the past couple of weeks.
They all show us that we have hope in this process.
How? The question is?
We guarantee them that those who come from there, representing them, really are to be in safety.
Finally,
the best way out for Ethiopia is dialogue, dialogue, and dialogue.
The Ethiopian National Dialogue was established in December 2021. The end goal of the Commission is to resolve the outstanding issues and foster national consensus. And the Commission has been doing a lot of activities despite enormous challenges. Today, we'll take a closer look at the challenges the Commission has faced and the strategies it is using to overcome them. You're watching Messenger from Amico English. I'm your host, Yonas Adaye. Joining me today is Dr. Yonas Adaye, Commissioner at the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission. Stay tuned. Dr. Yonas, it is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
The Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission, it was established by the House of People's Representatives back in 2021. And what really necessitated the establishment of this very important national project?
What necessitated this National Dialogue Commission is an absolutely fundamental question. There are a lot of problems in Ethiopia, particularly Ethiopia's name itself happened to be synonymous to conflict, poverty, and all other bad things. This happened, John, when I was visiting, while I was doing my PhD at the University of Bradford, UK. There was a traditional English drama called pantomime. In the pantomime, opposite sex, a boy and a girl, were acting, and the girl in the middle of the drama said, I feel Ethiopia. I feel Ethiopia. Can you just buy me some cake? Yeah. Which means, when she says, I feel Ethiopia.
I feel Ethiopia. That means?
I'm hungry.
Of course.
You see, I'm starving. So this definitely tarnishes national image, if you like. Because of that structural conflict in Ethiopia, it gains that very bad name. This is not only the drama there, but also in dictionaries, in encyclopedia, and in some writings as well. So then people started to ask questions. Why this recurrent conflict in Ethiopia? What ways are there? Because Ethiopia tried, you know, as the whole world knows, Ethiopia is the only country in Africa to be independent, not to be colonized at all, of course, except Liberia because of its relations with America, but mainly as indigenous people, they kept their independence from foreign invasion and colonialism. However, it could not keep its peace inside. So that made Ethiopia's name almost similar or synonymous with conflict, with poverty or hunger, as we mentioned. So what necessitated national dialogue then? This recurrent structural, that existing conflict, violent conflict in Ethiopia necessitated the need, gave way for the need of national dialogue. Simply because, you know, during Haile Selassie, there was a lot of trial so as to build peace by peaceful means. During the Derg, there were again violent conflicts and war. During EPRDF, the same thing. And currently, again, we are facing that internal conflict. So now, time has come. Those old times, the approach was top-down, be it during Haile Selassie or before that. Top-down, that is coming from the policy-making level, from ministerial level down to the people. But this time, in this political, the incumbent period, political dispensation of the current government, then let's listen to the people at grassroots level.
Grassroots level. So I think it is very important to remember the timing of the establishment of this dialogue commission, because it was established at the heat of this conflict between the Tigray, the armed forces from the Tigray and the federal forces back then in 2021. So that conflict was one of the biggest reasons, and still there are questions that remained unanswered, unsolved. That's what you are saying to me.
Almost I'm referring to that one too, to be honest.
Yeah.
All internal conflicts. I refer that TPLF central government versus that conflict, also internal conflict. There was no invasion from outside. It is almost family feud, the family fighting with each other. And this became even clearer when we conducted national dialogue at Amhara regional level. A mother was telling her story to the entire gathering there about these women's constituencies, and she was saying she had two sons, one with the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, and the other with Amhara Fano. Now both are fighting. This is a family fight. The same is true here. TPLF, for instance, leading the country for over 27, 28 years. The same family. We have so many friends in Tigray, in Amhara, across Ethiopia. We are a family, but fighting with each other. So how to address this family fight, this internal conflict? So that's really the fundamental rationale or justification for establishment of this Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission.
Yeah, because those conflicts, unresolved conflicts, disagreements of opinion on grand national issues that lead to conflicts. So this endless cycle of violence that persisted and threatened the very existence of the nation. That is why this commission is very important. From 2021 December until now, it has been like 4 years. In those years, what are just the most critical challenges you have faced as you go along the years?
Great. Okay, so as to address the question, most of the time I happen to focus on what were the possibilities, what were the positive aspects, the enabling environment, and then what were the problems, and then what ways out. Because, as peace studies professor, I focus on something positive. However, to address your question directly, the challenges can be divided into three. The first one is idea level challenge. And the second one is semantic, word or verbal level. The third one is pragmatic or practical level. So when I go back to the idea level, with the time the national dialogue was established, there were different narratives, particularly thinkings, that, no, this is not possible. This cannot be conducted. Ethiopia cannot be at peace with itself. And as you know very well, in peace studies we say peace as well as war begins in the mind, in the thinking. So that negative thinking was widespread, to be honest. So that was a real challenge. When you come to people to discuss national dialogue, they would say, how different is it from the previous Peace and Conciliation Commission? You had also Identities and Nationalities Issues Commission. So what difference can you really make? And therefore it is not possible. They were just following a very negative logic of if A equals B, B equals C, and then A equals C. So if the previous one failed and after that failed, then this is also a failure. So such very poor logic, because nature doesn't go that way. We have not that straight linear thinking process, but social science is more complex. So we are dealing with this complex society, and what's not possible yesterday can be, what's not impossible could be possible today.
People were at first suspicious of the very idea, the very concept of the national dialogue. How can it be a solution for this problem? So I think, what could be the source of that kind of mindset?
Absolutely tough question, to be honest with you, because it goes back to what's called cognitive science or philosophy of science, the thinking or philosophy of ideas as well. So different ideas can give you different responses to this. But from peace studies, particularly studying Ethiopia, looking into Ethiopia theoretically as well as practically, we have different sayings, even at local level.
Yeah.
You have it, he who did not suspect was eliminated.
Eliminated.
Yeah. That is the Amharic equivalent of it.
Yeah.
Secondly, that thinking, previously they tried different aspects. They had high expectations, high hopes.
Yeah.
But at times these hopes were dashed. They were not fulfilled. During socialism, for instance, they're talking about equality. Then they lost confidence. During modernization, during Haile Selassie, then that too was dashed, particularly landed through the Tila students' movement, and again nationality questions. And during EPRF, as a solution it came out, but the very solution became problem for ethnic-based violence across Ethiopia, which we today are facing, just looking into the eyes, to be honest with you. Yeah. So the foundation of this suspicious skepticism in the mind of the people comes from daily practices and also the existing stories, maybe people who like to really go in depth into this area. Why more of course, this being suspicious is also natural for human beings, not only Ethiopians. It is so natural because for survival, people suspect things that don't simply take things. It could be poison, it can kill me, therefore they have to test, I have to read the labeling at the same time. This suspicion is natural, but when it is paranoia type, the highest level of suspicion time and again, it becomes dangerous. So simply put, the source of this suspicion most likely happens to come from what is called in peace studies path dependence. That is from the past experience, past history.
You predict the future.
And then, as Winston Churchill would say, so as to look forward, look backward. So that past made them to also, as you said precisely, they see all things skeptically rather than wholeheartedly.
This is a very huge challenge because in any social undertaking, trust is the most fundamental of all. For the success of this National Dialogue Commission, the trust of the public is absolutely important. So in what ways are you addressing this trust deficit, I can call it?
Absolutely, you can call it. But mind you, we said in the introduction, idea level, word level, and practical level.
Practical level as well, yeah.
So at the word level, you have the social media disseminating this false information across the nation so as to sow the seed of doubts in the mind of people. And the practical aspect here and there, we had conflicts. Then so as to address these three, those issues, so as to gain trust and at the same time conduct national dialogue successfully, what strategies have we followed? That's naturally, logically correct question to follow up from what we've been discussing so far. So the first one is changing the approach, because so far peace building or state building or nation building approach has been top down.
Top down.
During our time, we wanted to give more chances for bottom up. Indigenous knowledge. What kept Ethiopia together for thousands of years? During Emperor Menelik II, for instance, Ethiopians came together, defeated Italian colonialism using their indigenous knowledge. Emperor Menelik II didn't have a PhD, or he wasn't a professor, but he had that indigenous knack, K-N-A-C-K, knack or understanding. And that understanding, that love of a country, and keeping the nation free as contrasted to all Africans most Asians, most Latin Americans during that time, that's the 19th century, scramble for new markets and capital for imperialism, particularly European imperialism. During those times, these, illiterate, literally, not reading and writing, but capable of defending their territorial integrity and unity of the country. So that indigenous knowledge is absolutely important today. If you go to Oromia region, you have a very interesting system called the Gada system. Sure, yeah. Go to Amhara area, you have the Shimgilna system. Go to Somali area, you have Gut system. Go to Olaita and others, you have Gutara system. You just go on, and we are absolutely rich in this indigenous African philosophy. So this must be listened to, taken into account, and make it part and parcel of political philosophy and political program. And that has been taken as a strategy for us to listen to the very people. This is not us beginning here. It's also Japan. Even though now they are very highly advanced, they always mix the technology of the West with indigenous knowledge of Japanese, particularly Shintoism philosophy. So that's absolutely important for us, because Ethiopia's peace means the peace of the world. 130 million people, if it's dispersed, imagine what would happen to the entire world, to be honest. So that's why we have to focus on this, and then our strategy focused on indigenous knowledge. Then, of course, without forgetting ideal leaders, elites, political elites, very important, because we belong to 21st century. We can't live the way 19th century people lived. So we also listen to, from grassroots level, that's bottom up, also top-down, all opposition parties, even people in the opposition, in the forest, in the jungle as well. In the same time, ideal leaders such as media and intellectuals. So these combinations of complexity could possibly address complex problems for Ethiopia. That's how we designed our grand strategy, and God willing, inshallah, we are making very positive process and gaining confidence as well, as we have so far about 6-7 research outputs which I have read on Ethiopian national dialogue. The concrete outcome tells us that overall, above 80% of the population of Ethiopia are very positive about national dialogue, the need for national dialogue, including opposition parties, and those who are in the fight as well. They also believe in the principle of national dialogue, even though they would oppose the way it is being handled. So you have this, and this simply because of the support coming from the people, support not only from Ethiopia, but also from abroad as well. Those peace-loving countries and nations and nationalities, and people also coming together to help Ethiopia's national dialogue succeed, because Ethiopia's peace is their peace for investment, for international trade, to work together, to grow together.
If that amount of people really support or agree on, I think, the importance of the national dialogue, it's a lot of achievement in this in the past few years. Another important point I would like to mention here is, how are you engaging with the grassroots level people who are often marginalized, like women, children, the youth, who often do not have voice in grand national discussions?
We divide participants into two categories. The first one is constituencies, particularly coming from grassroots level, including women, as you said, youth or young, traders, particularly business community, teachers, priests, leaders, that is religious leaders as a whole, including Muslims, Christians, and natural religions, such as Waqfana, as well as this is what I've learned from Kamanti area in Amhara region, very natural, which ages over 4,000 to 5,000 years, even before Judaism or coming with Judaism. So these all, we take them as our constituency parts, even internally displaced people as well. So they, from 8 up to 10 constituencies are to be represented from each warada at the cluster level or at zone level. And then we have the second part called stakeholders. Stakeholders include political parties, civil societies, teachers associations particularly, and also eminent personalities. Eminent personalities, those who contribute for this country's unity, integrity, and survival and existence during maybe Haile Selassie, during the Derg, EPRDF, and currently as well. This is not necessarily by age, but because of their influence that can impact in their environment. So these stakeholders also give their agenda, choose their participants to take part at National Dialogue Convention, which we expect, God willing, inshallah, again, maybe in the next Ethiopian year.
Yeah. Let's come to these practical examples. For example, your commission has been in Amhara region for the past couple of weeks to gather agenda for the National Dialogue Commission. And tell us your encounter with, particularly with the ordinary people.
That's, I think, very great. You know, when it's hope that drives life. It's hope. That's engine of life. Without hope, life becomes even meaningless. Sometimes people commit suicide when they see around and everything looks something chaotic. When they lose hope, then they lose life as well. So what I saw in Amhara region, in the young, the middle age, and old as well, sort of shining face. Thank you. We have hope in what you are doing. We tried war. Now war no more. We don't like war because we saw the meaning of war. We faced it. We lost our children, our husbands, women would say, our wives, our children, our brothers and sisters, our economy. So war is deficit. War is destroying us. We have to solve our internal conflict, our internal problems through dialogue. It is through dialogue that we can come to a lasting solution. In war, you might look for a winner and a loser. In dialogue, you will have both winners through discussions, through true discussion, through meaningful discussion. Why did we go to war in the first place? What took us to the jungle to fight our own brothers and sisters? Why should we walk on their blood and then look for money hidden there? So people might reckon with themselves, reflect on that when they come to dialogue. This is what we heard from sheikhs, from priests, from women, from youth, from those people who really are marginalized for their professions, such as people engaged in handcrafts, potters, and smiths. So they all show us that we have hope in this process. We will contribute, come what may. We are with you. So this is what we heard, not only at the regional level. I was also in Gonda for 2 rounds. I had facilitated the dialogue of over 2,700 people, altogether about 7,000 people in the Amhara region taking part in this national dialogue. So my observation is that commitment. If the people are committed, to be honest, they can succeed. We as a society also can succeed. One more point. Whenever we go to any other part of Ethiopia, be it in south, west, north, east, wherever, they would ask us, how about our brothers in Amhara region? How are you treating them? How are you following the conflict there? Are you giving them some hope? Are you addressing them? Are you engaging those who are in the fight themselves? Are you facilitating for them to come and engage? So overall, these are some of absolutely encouraging points we saw in Amhara region. Yeah,
you give us, an illustrated or detailed response how ordinary people in Amhara region responded to your call for gathering agenda in that region. I would like to ask you this question. What about the political elites? I mean, the ordinary people, they have been just like feeling the brunt of the conflict, literally. Any conflict, the Tigray conflict, and now the instability within the region itself. Ordinary people are the ones who fully pay the brunt of this conflict. So I think it is understandable why they respond in a very much a positive light about the project that you are doing. But equally, there are people who do think that the The Commission is not independent. The Commission is a kind of symbolic organization that legitimizes the status quo. So what kind of reception or what kind of response do you get from your critics?
You know, it's very, very positive for me, to be honest, with you. When someone tells you that you are not independent, they are telling you the truth, that no one is independent. Everyone is dependent upon the other. So that we go now for what's called interdependent. Because no one is, including, say, if you take at a country level, America needs Djibouti, the smallest country. Even though it is very huge, but it should also depend upon that. This national dialogue cannot be independent, totally isolated from the media, from government, from opposition parties themselves, from civil societies. Their supports are so important. So we always, you know, I recommend them to read Piaget's theory of id, ego, and superego level. Dependence, independence, interdependence level. Interdependence is the level of maturity, and total dependence is sort of parasitism, and independence is sort of ignorance, because we need each other. And again, that's how you're working for prosperity. And my answer is...
That is my question when I say dependent.
Oh, okay.
Everything is interdependent. As
my answer is again
clearly
positive.
Explained, but it is like, for example, the Commission, linking the Commission with the status quo, with the party in power, something like that.
Okay. My answer has been, of course, I've been asked time and again. No one is working for poverty. They all are working for prosperity. That must be underlined. Secondly, they say you
not
are...
prosperity party.
Not at all. I don't get nothing to do with political parties. I respect all of them. Opposition party, ruling parties, they are all our friends. And 14 political parties took part in this Amhara region. And one of the parties which criticized me when I was engaging with some international, a media operating outside Ethiopia. I said they supported us. And they said, no, now we are out. But I saw them in Amhara region taking part, and I was absolutely delighted. So regarding independence, we all are interdependent. We can't be independent from our country, from the state. It is a state that has it. And the function of the state, not only government, but the state, mind you, because they say you are being paid by the government. No, we are paid by the state. It is Ethiopian people's money, their tax. So we are working for Ethiopia. We can't be independent of our country. They say you are political. No one is apolitical. Or in other words, human beings naturally are political animals, according to Socrates in philosophy. So most of the time, at the end of the day, they just go out without any words to continue engaging, because all those things said have a small truth, grain, only from far they saw. When they came to the truth, then they realize and they will go back. Let me give you some tangible evidence. The time we started, only 3 political parties supported and wanted to work with us. Now we are working with over 50 to 60 political parties together.
In Amhara region?
In Ethiopia as a whole. Yes, in the Amhara region 14, but if you just look at the Amhara National Party, for instance, if you have seen what they posted, they were making general call for the Amhara people and the regional people as a whole to engage in national dialogue, which is a principle of peace by peaceful means. So you really can see that you are gaining confidence and trust, not by claiming for it, but by working for it. They see your process. Because they saw it, then they believed it, like Thomas in the Bible. They saw, and then they believed that we are really independent or interdependent. We are working with all, not with one only, because National Dialogue Commission is inclusive.
The Chief Commissioner of the National Dialogue Commission, Mesfin Arya, explained that an armed group has sent its agendas to the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission. That has really attracted a lot of attention. And is there anything you'd like to explain about this situation?
This is very much respected and viewed media. So to be honest, I'll say little on that. simply because...
On the identity of the, the armed group?
Neither the identity of the armed group,
Okay.
nor the agenda items.
Okay.
Because the details are not yet out, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I would like to refrain from commenting anything on that.
How do you view the act that an armed group fighting the government, sending an agenda item to the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission, and how do you receive that?
The act is absolutely excellent, more than welcome. However, because we are living in the knowledge-led generation, knowledge-led, research-led society. This is information era, knowledge era. Anything I say can be checked in Google or DeepSeek or AI. You can check. So whenever they just put my name and then they see my publications, then they read and then they verify that.
Yeah.
In the same way, anything I say must be scientifically supported. So because I don't have the agenda in my hand,
yeah.
because I respect all your viewers,
yeah.
the best way for me is to not...
you can keep it somewhat confidential
yeah.
about who these armed groups are and
yeah.
what the agenda items are. But the very act is
yeah.
true.
Absolutely, it's good. I say it is very good, desirable.
Yeah. Yeah.
My language, be careful.
Yeah.
It is desirable, it is very good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you encourage others, people, for example, your critics? We don't want to expand a lot or talk a lot about people who support you because they're already supporting.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
I think about the people who are suspicious of the national dialogue
yeah.
and people who are still in the jungle fighting the government. What is your message to them? And how open is your commission to welcome
yes.
them?
Yeah. That's truly a challenge, which is a very important one at the same time. Yes, to be honest, there are really people who definitely think very logically, and our call has always been this. They can keep their arms, their weapons all together, but they can send us their agenda as well as their representatives. And even though some people, as I told you, informally even showed me this and that, but still my invitation, my call as Ethiopian citizen, and maybe elder brother at the same time, is for Ethiopia, the best way out is, dialogue. So I encourage them to give their agenda without disarming their own, that they can have it. Yeah. That belongs to the government. It's not to national dialogue. National dialogue is an independent entity, and we are to facilitate for win-win approach. Therefore, that being the case, then I really I ask my brothers and sisters with love and respect, wherever they are, even through this media, I'm asking them to send us their agenda and also their representatives. If not for Amhara region, which we were waiting for, even though we had a variety of ideas, but now formally we are really asking them to send their agenda and their representatives to the Ethiopian National Dialogue Conference, which is to be held shortly, maybe, God willing, next year.
How, the question is there any safety mechanism or is there any platform that these people can come, discuss, and safely go to their places, maybe?
My answer is absolutely yes.
Okay.
And this question, this is maybe my 10th time, to be honest.
Yeah.
We've been talking to the Amhara Regional Administration, and at the same time at national level as well, and to international community as well, for them to be created safe passage, safe space. And the states at national as well as federal level, as well as regional level, are positive. The same is true with international community. Again, let me just qualify my statement. We're not asking them to lay their arms. No, they don't have to. They should keep it with them. Because our approach is, let me repeat, our approach is indigenous knowledge-based. In Ethiopian culture, owning a gun is a sign of maybe being rich, or sometimes also used for prestige, sometimes also to keep your property and personalities at the same time. So because we are basing on that cultural basis, we don't ask them to lay their arms. Laying arms, that is a deal with the government, not with us. We ask them as they are, but send us their representatives and their agenda. And we guarantee them that those who come from there, representing them, really are to be in safety, in safe places. For that, we 3, 4, 5 times already responded, and we hear informal statements, but because they are not yet verified again, because I respect the view and the media, I may not say further on that. But other than that, absolutely, that's very clear enough. We are inviting them. There is a safe guarantee at the same time, both international community, regional government, as well as we also asked federal government as well. So that's why we are confidently calling on our brothers.
Let's come to this indigenous idea. I think the indigenous culture, I think that is very important. There is no one traditional mechanism. In different localities, in different regions, there are different means of resolving conflicts. How are you integrating all these things?
Yeah, that's a continuation of what we already raised, taking Gada from Oromo region, Shingilna from Amhara, and from other societies as well. So how are we fusing the modern with the ancient? Or the one evolving from grassroots level, the indigenous, with a modern one. That's very, very important at the same time for people to really understand. Whenever we go across Ethiopia, before we start any dialogue in a conference, we have blessings to be given by elders, religious leaders, and those priests or sheikhs coming out. Without their blessing, we never start anything. The belief is that what is impossible with man or man is possible with the Creator God. Spirituality. If you really Google, over 98% of Ethiopians are spiritual. So we base on spirituality. And that is the foundation of Ethiopia's indigenous knowledge, indigenous culture. Not necessarily Christian or Muslim, no, but believers in spirituality at the same time. So that being the case, then, we are also fusing, that is combining the modern, that's our reading, our technology, and the ancient, that's our traditional knowledge, cultural knowledge. It is this fusing that can make sustainable peace in this country, which is tested in China, tested in Japan. China fused 5,000 years of history with the latest thinking of Xi Jinping so as to build sustainable economy. The same is true with that of Japan, which I mentioned a moment ago. So this fusing of modernity, modernization, with the traditional knowledge really makes it more sustainable and more permanent.
Yeah. Another critical point I would like to mention here is the participation of the diaspora, because I think the diaspora, the Ethiopian diaspora, all over the world, they have this strong link with their native land. So how are you encouraging the Ethiopian diaspora, especially those who are very influential, to be the part and the parcel of this process?
We involve and engage diaspora community at 3 levels. The first one is through Zoom meeting. Second one, we already received some of the agenda, diaspora agenda, who live in Ethiopia, Ethiopian Diaspora Association. The third one, going to the countries where they live. For you, maybe for the information of the viewers at the same time, we have communicated all our diaspora across the world, divided them into Oceania, Asia, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Americas as a whole, including Canada. So that's how we already communicated. The same is true with the Middle East as well. So that's through dialogue, through virtual communication. And then some of them, their association in Ethiopia gave us already their agenda. Now, as final stage, we're going to those countries and collect their agenda, select participants for national dialogue at conference level.
Let us talk about money, because I think a huge undertaking like the Ethiopian National Dialogue, Ethiopia is a very big country. It's a very huge country, so it has a lot of landmass. So for this National Dialogue Commission to accomplish its objectives, its tasks, I think it needs a huge amount of money. So traditional donors like the USAID are frozen their aid in different parts of the world. So in terms of money, what do you need, or do you have sufficient funds?
Let's be very clear. This is Ethiopian-owned Ethiopian institution. It is for a success or failure of national dialogue, ownership must be done by the locals. So most national dialogues, such as Yemen and others, which were owned by foreigners, a council, particularly the Gulf Council, finally it ended in failure.
Because there are interest groups there.
Absolutely. It was the entire, as we say in English, he who pays for the piper chooses the tune as well. So if they give you the money, they'll give you the agenda as well. So national interest might be compromised. However, we are not living in isolation. We are not an island. We work with people. We have the African saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we like to go fast and far. So it is Ethiopian independent institution, but also we need our partners from international community. So UNDP is one of our main supporters. UNDP, United Nations Development Program, there are member countries, European Union, Japan, Ireland, Irish Republic, and of course many other countries as well. They contributed to the UNDP. From UNDP, we get from Ethiopian Ministry of Finance, then indirectly. And most important, of course, we are funded by Ethiopian government as well. So in short, we have both international and local support.
Finally, what kind of message would you like to send to the international community and to countries, friendly countries, who would like to see stable, prosperous Ethiopia?
Brilliant. So for the international community particularly, we are in a testing time because of the emerging new international order, and the new administration, particularly in the White House, is almost demanding a new thinking. So I think that our international community, this world seems to be almost being torn apart. If you see conflict in Ukraine or in the Middle East, these are really, damaging. Africa, come back to Africa, come to the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is in the center. You have Sudan, South Sudan, almost in turmoil. The same is true in Somalia. Things are in difficulty, honestly speaking. The best way for Ethiopia to survive, not only being independently working on its own, but also international support is extremely important. This national dialogue success means success of peace and stability in the Horn of Africa as well. Because, when the internal problems had spillover effect, then they will also go to those international communities, and that will really have sort of loads on them through refugees and many others, so as to deter those problems in Ethiopia. Then I really need international support to come forward, as they have been so far doing. I'm really grateful to what they have done, and we report to them almost to one monthly basis or bi-monthly basis as well, our progress. And our internal people, this is Ethiopia's agenda, but every country is dependent on the other country. That's why we say interdependence. So those who still believe in fighting, 21st century has come. In Ethiopian tradition, the internal conflict must be solved using our own indigenous knowledge. So our brothers and sisters, for God's sake, look at what's happening in Amhara region only. 4.6 million students are still out of school. Overall Ethiopia, nearly 12 million students out of school because of conflict, including Tigray, some parts of Oromia. How long should we dash the hope of our young, because we said hope is the engine of life. So please stop fighting and start talking. The best way out for Ethiopia is dialogue, dialogue, and dialogue.
Dr. Yonas Adaye, Commissioner at the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission. It is a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you for coming and discussing this very important national agenda.
Thank you very much again for having me.
Thank you for joining us as we dive into these very important questions with Dr. Yonas Adaye. We hope this discussion offers valuable insights into the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission and its potential impact in creating stability and peace in Ethiopia. Until we meet next time, take care and goodbye.